great. I got some great meals out of it. So thank you for that. Thank you to all my friends who've come and visited and been supportive, and the people who've shared their breast cancer stories with me, which was encouraging to me, and everybody who has been so supportive and great.
Great.
And now to the news.
Oh, my. Just going to make sure this phone is completely off.
Oh, I should do that too, because that could be annoying. And I still have my cough drops here in case I am, coughing. But Virginia is our top story because all hell is breaking loose in the Republican Party in Virginia.
Yes.
Governor Youngkin completes his only one allowed term. A number of people are running for governor, but then there are these people running for lieutenant governor. And one of them is a out gay Republican, John Reed, and they're going after him.
He had an opponent. He happens to be an out gay guy. He's a conservative. We have a picture of him. He's a MAGA conservative Trump guy who has a partner for the last 7 or 8 years or whatever it is. But he had an opponent, but the opponent got sick and had to drop out of the race. So now he was going to be the nominee.
Yep.
So now somebody in the party decided that they wanted to stop him. A guy named Moran.
Who looks a little gay himself.
Well,
but I'm just speculating.
And so they put out a story that he had an app and was looking at, which included a lot of nude pictures.
Reed,
John
Reed. Yeah.
And, and Youngkin said, get out of the race, drop out, we'll put somebody else in. And he is fighting back fiercely.
Yes. And so it's chaos and just a huge upset among the Republicans in Virginia.
He did a 5-minute video, which is actually enthralling to listen to.
Yes.
We will
John Reed, R-E-I-D.
And we will put it in our email so that you can watch it. But we're going to show just a 1-minute segment here where he, answers the charges and talks about his life. Let's run that. Back at 53.
I actually have it listed as.
What?
I have it listed as 35 seconds.
Oh, you're right. Just 35 seconds. Okay.
37.
Sorry, I'm looking at the other thing.
Yeah. All right, let's
okay.
Go. So we're just on the edge of our seats waiting to see whether the Republican Party in Virginia will destroy itself.
That was a very compelling defense.
Yeah.
He is now suing something called the Spirit of Virginia for extortion in this case, which is run by this Matt Moran guy. And it really could damage Governor Youngkin's presidential aspirations and
I know,
career
he
and
was
everything
sailing
else.
along.
And what could be a better result?
I have my popcorn. All right. Another big story this week is about the Department of Defense and the lovely Pete Hegseth, who would like to kick trans service members out, but a court has that on hold, a temporary restraining order. So the Department of Justice, the Trump administration has gone back into court and said, please, we can't stand this another minute. Lift the restraining order. We got to get rid of these people. And we're waiting for the Supreme Court to decide whether to lift that order. I predict they will not lift that order.
Well, of course, this is the week that idiot Hegseth killed what he called a woke program for women in the military that was created by not just Donald Trump, who signed it in his last administration, but was supported by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Kristi Noem was the chief sponsor of it in the House when she was in the House, and she runs the Department of Homeland Security now. So this is a Republican program that everybody loved, but he said it says something about women, so it's woke. And it's got to go.
They're all destroying themselves.
Well,
but meanwhile,
they're destroying the country. By the way, just to pause.
Yeah.
We're only 7% into his term.
Meanwhile, another court has ordered the Defense Department to reinstate giving gender-affirming care to the trans service members who are in the military.
Yes.
So they're forced to do that.
And we've told you about Maine Governor Janet Mills, right? Because she's the one who said, "I'll see you in court, Trump." And we have a 1-minute video where she explains why she is standing up to Trump over his efforts to take all her money away from her state. That would be 43.
Thank you. So are we finishing at a little past 58? We're finishing a little past 58.
58:19.
Thank you. 58:19.
Okay, for the close.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm almost there. So 3 cheers for her. I'm glad we're finally hearing from her.
Yes. And we may be hearing from a new gay senator from Maine, Jordan Wood, a married gay man with an infant child. Daughter Ella is running for Susan Collins' seat.
And a husband, he used to work for Katie Porter.
Chief of staff for Katie Porter.
Democrat from California.
Yeah.
So anyway. And then there's our pal, Governor J.B. Pritzker, who is a Democratic presidential hopeful. You probably heard a lot about him this week. He told a New Hampshire gathering that Democrats have to stop listening to the do-nothing political types who are calling for caution and fight everywhere all at once. Never before in my life have I called for mass protests, for mobilization, for disruptions, but I am now. These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. The reckoning is finally here. And he is saying that he is going to direct state agencies to review their ties to El Salvador.
Amazing.
In the wake of what, Trump is using it as a gulag.
We heard him speak recently at an event here in New York, Alan Roscoff's Jim Al's Club event. He's so impressive. And he has been really progressive for a long time now as the governor of Illinois. And a lot of people are hoping he runs for president.
He gave this last speech in New Hampshire. So yes, he is.
Yes, good. Because that kind of aggressive fight back is what we need.
Well, Senator Chris Holland of Maryland, who visited Abrego Garcia in El Salvador last week, said disinvesting in the country of El Salvador would be a way to put pressure on them. And this Sunday at the Stonewall, just down there in Stonewall Place, Sheridan Square in New York, Senator Brad Hoylman-Siegel is going to have a rally for the gay guy who was put into the gulag in El Salvador, Andre Jose Hernandez Romero. That's at 5:30. And Andre's lawyer is going to be there, but a lot of other groups. I'll be there. It should be good.
Yeah.
We got to draw more attention to this case. It was on 60 Minutes, but we still don't know what's happening with him.
All right. Some other Trump sins this week. It has not occurred to him, evidently, that tariffs on pharmaceutical drugs from other countries is going to raise the prices of drugs in this country.
Of everything.
Yeah.
Of everything.
He has a budget proposal to cut billions, as he likes to say, from social programs, childcare, housing, foreign aid, and health research.
Well, Department of Agriculture is ending programs that help schools and food banks buy food from local farmers and ranchers. They're cutting $1 billion from that. And they have dismantled the agency that funds Meals on Wheels. So you're sitting there alone in your room, your food ain't coming.
And those of you who think this will all work itself out and he's doing a great job and we should give him time, you're living in a dream world.
Right.
He's going to change the accreditation of college theater programs to get out DEI. I don't get how he has the power to do all these things.
He doesn't, but somebody has to enforce the law. And he's got a Department of Justice that won't.
Of
and
course.
we have a Congress that won't.
Right.
Which is why this country is over until the other branches assert themselves.
Well, and until individuals go into court to challenge him.
And the court can actually make them do it.
Yeah. Of course, he also has ordered the University of Pennsylvania to wipe out the records of the swimmer Leah Thomas.
Yes. And apologize. They must issue an apology to everybody who lost a race to her. These are the kinds of things they're demanding unilaterally. This is, it's fascism.
He really does think he's a king.
Yeah.
And the Civil Rights Division at the Department of Justice is being decimated under its new overlord.
Harmeet Dillon. She's a right-wing culture warrior. She runs the Civil Rights Division, and she wants to drop its traditional work to aggressively pursue cases against Ivy League schools and other schools and liberal cities. That's what she's turning over the department, the Civil Rights Division to.
So
100 attorneys have left.
Yes.
Nope, because they don't want to work. If that's the mission, we didn't sign up for this.
I like the attorneys who quit the Southern District of New York office because they still want Eric Adams prosecuted, and they were told to apologize to him. And they said, forget it, we're leaving.
And as I already said, I love the fact that half the Solicitor General's office, which is how the United States defends itself in the Supreme Court, they've left because they don't want to defend it. And that's going to leave, who do they have to, they're sending in nudniks to argue these cases. But of course, they have a very pliant Supreme Court.
You may remember that before Trump was reelected in November, we did a lot of talking about how they were training people. The Heritage Foundation in their Project 2025 work was training hundreds and hundreds of people to come be government employees. And they're lined up around the block for these jobs.
The question is whether they have the competence to get, to win their cases.
Well, the judges in all these cases are saying that they're just being stupid and obstructionist and lying and refusing to answer. But will the courts then have the guts to hold them in contempt or rule against them?
Well.
And here's a question. Should all those attorneys who quit, who had values and history, should they have stayed and just refused to do the work and force them to fire them?
It's always an issue.
Yeah.
I think they should go work for state attorneys general and come on to the other side. And frankly, we could get to it when you're talking about scientific research. I think the states should pick it up. It's been decimated. Lots of diseases are going, unresearched now at this point. I mean, my God, the guy who's in there to prove autism is, connected to the environment or something. This has to stop. And so we need the scientists continuing to do their work.
Vaccines, the autism vaccines.
All these things.
Yeah. All right.
Well, the Equality Act was reintroduced into the Congress.
Yippee.
And it has, I believe it has 0 Republican sponsors. So it's not going to pass. And of course, even if it did, and it has passed the House in the past.
Twice.
When Democrats were in control. But even if we won the Senate back next time, they would have a filibuster to stop it. Unless there's a, great awakening in the United States that we've been too mean to people.
Well, we need a tsunami of change in the House and the Senate to get back enough control to overcome all of this. And meanwhile, Pam Bondi, our Attorney General, has convened all the cabinet members for a task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias in the federal government.
Yep.
Now, what she is talking about is courts that have ordered religious schools, for instance, to not be mean to gay people, or Catholic adoption agencies to treat everyone equally. And that's anti-Christian bias, according to the Department of Justice. They brought in a
bunch of victims from the Biden administration who were peaceful Christians, while ignoring ignorant, violent, anti-Christian offenses. And then she said, thanks to President Trump, we've ended those abuses, and we will continue to work closely with this task force.
She has such an evil smile on her face
She sure
when she does all this.
She would have to. Now, wait a minute. I have more on Pam Bondi. She is, they're telling employees to investigate and prosecute cases of minors accessing gender-affirming care and female genital mutilation. So they're pairing the two.
Well, Trump refers to gender-affirming care as mutilation. The White House website refers to gender-affirming care as mutilation.
And the memo says that they're going to go after on or off-label of puberty blockers, sex hormones, or any other drug used to facilitate a child's so-called gender transition as a violation of consumer protection laws. It says you must ignore medical recommendations from the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, even though, gender affirming care is supported by all the major medical associations, the AMA, the Endocrine Society, the American Academy of Pediatrics, as safe and life-saving for young people with gender dysphoria.
Exactly.
This is just horrendous.
Well,
and they're defunding the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, particularly the part that aids LGBTQ young people. But Canada has one, and they say we can use it. And the number is 877-330-6366.
Put that in the show note.
I will.
Okay. But a little good news, 3 separate judges have ruled that the federal government cannot withhold funding from K through 12 schools for DEI violations, that is not legitimate, and they have to continue giving the federal funds.
The judges are saying, you can't even tell us what DEI is. And you're saying you want, on that basis, you want the right to base, because you don't have a basis for it.
But this is all headed for some kind of showdown, because that the administration is going to refuse to respect those orders.
Right.
And they're just going to do whatever the hell they want.
Look, they've also dismissed all voting rights cases and all senior staff in the voting rights sections of the Justice Department. Now, folks, this is not about government efficiency. This is about not having an election in 2026 and 2028.
It's just when you think it can't get any worse, you realize you've only had 7% of this administration, and they think up new things to do every single day. Happily, Trump was at a rally in Michigan this week and drew his smallest crowd ever. Whereas
Bernie and AOC have been drawing big crowds, and we have been on the streets by over a million people across the country protesting. And you don't see a million people out in the streets saying, "Thanks for the tariffs," do you? You don't see them out there supporting. No, I mean it. They're not out there supporting him.
I can't. Oh, but they're saying, I see these interviews with Trump supporters who say, "Oh, the tariffs, well, that's just a device temporarily. We'll get beyond that. He knows what he's doing."
That's from watching Fox News. Yeah. I mean, I had a family member who is, I'm pretty sure, voted for him, and just sort of vaguely said, "Well, things had to change." But is this the kind of change you want? You're not going to be, all your grandchildren aren't going to be getting Christmas toys this year.
They don't care.
They'll start caring.
Yeah, well, they better care
about. They cared about eggs.
He just told them not to, and that it wasn't his fault, and that it was Biden's fault.
It's down. It's down now. They're down now. Gas is 99 cents a gallon. This is the kind of,
where?
Why when ABC interviewed him this week, what's the
shameful.
What's
Terry
the guy's
Moran.
name? Why wasn't there a crawl on the bottom of the screen saying, "That's not true. Here's what's true"?
Because they're afraid, just as Jeff Bezos was afraid, and therefore
they didn't do anything on that show to correct the record.
Nothing. And he tried 6 times to say those tattoos were photoshopped. No, they weren't. What are you talking about? You're the worst. All right.
Kennedy Center
canceled all World Pride events.
All of them now.
All of them.
They had canceled
everything.
They'd already canceled. Now this is with the gay new director. Of course, the head of the Kennedy Center is Donald J. Trump. but he has an executive director. What's the guy's name?
Rick Grinnell.
Who was gay.
See, they say surgery causes you to have cognitive dysfunction. And I would not deny that, but I'm happy to see I can call up some of this stuff.
So they are going to now hold the World Pride events at the World Pride Welcome Center in downtown DC. And they're going to, they're going to go on with the events as they should. And you know what? Why would any self-respecting LGBTQ person want to perform at the Kennedy Center at this point?
That's a longer discussion. Well, World Pride events start May 17th in DC, and they still have scheduled their June 8th big protest march.
The problem is you're calling it World Pride, and it's been held in Rome and in Jerusalem and all these places, and people didn't have any trouble going to these countries, but they're going to have trouble coming to the United States.
They are.
So Canada and other saying we're not going. Look, I'm supposed to go to London in the summer. I'm worried about coming back. Are they going to demand my phone and start scrolling through it? They're allowed to do that.
You should be so lucky as to have to stay in London.
No. It means you come in and then they start saying you can't have your phone. And, we found this and we don't like this. And
you're going to El Salvador.
Yeah, well, not El Salvador, but maybe something else.
Yeah. Well, I am unhappy that World Pride is going to continue as if nothing's going on until the June 8th march.
No, it all should be turned into, well, look, they announced the big grand marshals for the New York parade, who include mostly transgender activists, which is great, and Karine
Jean-Pierre.
That's great. But again, they're they haven't turned it into the protest march that it needs to. They say the theme is protest.
Yes, the theme is rise up, pride in protest or something. And we'll see.
Well, and corporations are all across the country. We've been talking about this for a while here, dropping out of support for Pride. 2/3 of last year's New York City Pride sponsors have agreed to renew their sponsorships, but the rest remain in negotiations. They're concerned about the potential DEI investigations by the federal government.
Seattle Pride has a $325,000 deficit. Corporations are withdrawing from supporting them.
MasterCard isn't renewing its corporate sponsorship in New York. Others include PepsiCo, Nissan, Citi. They want their money from you, but they're not proud of us.
And some are cutting back, like Target is still in Minneapolis, but they're cutting back on the amount of sponsorship. So it's, watch out.
And then
the Marriott CEO is backing DEI and got 40,000 emails supporting his stance, which was nice.
I want to give you a little more on the case about the Maryland Supreme Court case about the Maryland school district that let parents of elementary schools, parents want to opt out if books are present in the classroom, elementary school, that have LGBTQ themes.
You're offending my religion.
Art Leonard, a professor, says he thinks the majority of the court's going to conclude that the trial judge abused her discretion and send it back and then do a fact-finding thing. But they had a huge debate in the court about Uncle Bobby's wedding between Alito and Sotomayor. And Sotomayor said, "You're not representing that book correctly at all. I have it right here," and started quoting from it. So they sound like they're eager to give parents a veto over classroom materials to prevent their children from learning about LGBTQ families.
Well, it's a fight they've been having for a long time. And a judge in Maryland, a Baltimore judge, says that Catholic Relief Services has to pay $60,000 to a gay married employee because the employee is only working on IT stuff for Relief Services, nothing to do with their religion. So Catholic Relief Services cannot say we don't have to give equal health benefits to his husband because we're religious and that's no good.
As I wrote about the late Pope, we talk about these cases all the time. Local parishes trying to fire gay people or agencies, and he never lifted a finger to help them, ever.
Right. Now, and as long as we're on the subject of Pride parades, May 10th, next Saturday, a week from this Saturday, Brighton Beach is holding its 9th Pride event. It's a wonderful event. I've gone to a lot of them. They parade down the boardwalk in a very Russian emigre section of Brooklyn. But this year they are concerned because a lot of the immigrants who would normally show up are scared to show up because they can just see ICE coming in and taking all of them away.
Wow.
So they're making a special plea for those of us not in that peril to go to Brighton Beach May 10th. I'll be there and parade on behalf of particularly trans immigrants. 11 a.m. on the boardwalk at Brighton Beach.
Okay, let's write it down.
Yeah, because these immigrants can't march. So you can look up Brighton Beach Pride on Facebook or just Google it and get the starting point. But it'll be a lovely day. It'll be a fun little march by the seashore, and really encourage you to come out to that.
They're going to meet at the on the boardwalk in Coney Island, where the boardwalk intersects with Polar Bear Club Walk.
Yes,
and we head out at noon. But the group running it is no longer Rusa LGBTQ. It's now called Caravan with a Q, and because of how bad Russia is basically these days. So
they've always been anti-Putin this march.
Yes,
and very pro-Ukraine, and that's been a theme for some years ever since the war started. But they really want to stand up for trans immigrants, immigrants in particular, who are being thrown out by Trump. So we need to go out there and support them.
And you might have read that former MAGA Congressman gay George Santos finally got sentenced. He doesn't have to show up until July 25th to surrender, but he got 87 months, 7 years in prison.
For wire fraud, aggravated identity theft. He lied to Congress. He cheated donors. He's hoping unemployment benefits fraud.
He's hoping for a pardon from Trump, and don't put it past him.
No, I wouldn't put it past him, but I'm looking forward to his opportunity to again be a volleyball champion in prison.
God. Trump did pardon grifting, transphobic Nevada politician Michelle Fiore, who she faced 20 years in prison and gave for 6 counts of wire fraud. She spent money raised to build a statue honoring a fallen police officer on rent, cosmetic procedures, and her daughter's wedding.
Yes.
So she's a horrible person, and she did horrible things. But because she's MAGA, and she's taken absolutely heinous stands. After the Uvalde shooting, she claimed that the shooter was transgendering. That kind of stuff. And she was a White Lives Matter activist.
Racist, transphobic.
So she gets a pardon.
Because she supported Trump's claims of election fraud when he didn't win in 2020.
And because he doesn't intend to have elections anymore.
Yes. All right. And credit to HRC, the Human Rights Campaign, which led a die-in at the Health and Human Services building to protest budget cuts. They're not usually out on the streets protesting that.
They better be.
Yeah.
And kudos to Republican Governor Kelly Armstrong in North Dakota, who vetoed a bill restricting access to library books because it carried criminal penalties. If you don't get these books off the shelves and into a place, you're going to jail. And
he said, a Republican governor said, no, it's too much.
It's overreach.
Yeah.
And Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul said that she was open to renaming Penn Station after Donald Trump if he comes across with $1.3 billion to rehabilitate it. Absolute madness.
That would be so depressing.
The aforementioned Senator Brad Holman Siegel, our state senator, is introducing a bill to bar the state from naming public buildings for convicted felons.
That's a good solution.
And but her opponent may be Elise Stefanik, the dumped
Yeah.
UN ambassador.
Yeah.
And she's really leading in the polls if she decides to, leading in the Republican primary.
Yeah.
Which would sideline that horrible Blakeman guy from Nassau County who did all the anti-trans stuff.
And Mike Lawler from Rockland County, I guess.
Who was a congressman.
Yes, who got yelled at by his constituents.
All right.
New York City Council passed a package of bills to protect gender-affirming care in the city.
I wrote to them and said, well, how does this change anything? Because it's already illegal to discriminate.
We really, really mean it.
Okay.
And you,
I got no answer.
because that's the answer. You just got it. U.gov says Representative Sarah McBride, the trans member from Delaware, has the highest favorability rating in the House.
I have a theory about that because she's the only representative in the state, so they get to vote on her. But I mean, if you're talking about the others and everybody takes an opinion of them, you don't. It's hard to.
I don't know how. I haven't investigated.
Congratulations, Sarah.
Yes, and thank you for everything.
Now get that Equality Act passed.
DC has opened a new LGBTQ plus center. Which will house 9 organizations, a food pantry, STI and HIV testing, clothes closet, showers, and a mailroom.
We mourn the loss of Jiggly Caliente from RuPaul's Drag Race contestant, dead at 44. No, actual name is Bianca Castro Arabello, best known for competing on season 4. But no cause of death provided.
Whoa, she had a severe infection.
Oh, this was not in the story that I read.
Had most of her right leg amputated, but died because of this severe infection. She also was an actress who appeared on 12 episodes of Pose, and she came out as transgender in 2016. Most of the Drag Race contestants are drag performers. But some in more recent years have in fact transitioned.
And she hoped to inspire the queer community in the Philippines.
Yes, and she was Filipino, and she was a co-host of the drag race show in the Philippines.
Yes. All right. International news.
Yes.
Oh, congratulations to Canada. Prime Minister Mark Carney led his Liberal Party to a 4th election. It was a 30-point swing in the last few weeks from the Liberals to the Conservatives due to Trump's bullying and threats. The Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, lost his own seat in the election, which was very sweet. They'll have to elect a new leader of the Conservatives. This was the Trump of Canada. Now, even he had to say, oh, no, we don't want to be the 51st state. But that wasn't enough.
It's amazing. It's great. I think Trump is having a great effect around the world. And I understand that the same thing is happening in Australia, that they're turning around the coming election there because of fear of Trumpism coming to Australia. And so the Liberal Party is the Conservative Party in Australia, but whatever the Progressive Party is now forging ahead in the polls.
And Carney is, you've probably heard him say it. The relationship between Canada and the United States is over. You can't treat us this way.
Yep.
We have to move on our own. It's very sad to hear, but it's totally accurate.
So one of my favorite stories of the week is this from Hungary. Hungary outlawed pride parades and marches after many, many years of having them. So 6 members of parliament went into the parliament chamber and carrying these colored
smoke flares,
yes, as we carried at the NIH many years ago. And there are dramatic pictures of them in the parliament chamber with these smoke flares. So they have been temporarily banned from the chamber. Their salaries have been cut. Yep. But really
it's the first time they've banned anybody from the chamber since Hungary's transition to democracy.
It's a great demonstration.
And protesters are out there now every Tuesday in mass numbers. And they either do this gray protest where they say we're for gray pride, which is what we have here at Gay USA.
Very.
But they do it every week. And they have a lot of allies. And they do pop up rainbow flags, too.
I would like to see that happen here in the House and the Senate. I want to see Chuck Schumer carrying a colored flare,
Yeah.
smoke flare, going crazy in the Senate.
Well, I mean, now Senate and House leadership are saying to their members, let's pull back a little on this El Salvador stuff in terms of going down there and making such a fuss. We want to be known for other things.
Well, let's be J.B. Pritzker. Let's watch him as a leader.
So Pope Francis,
Yep.
he wrote a foreword to a book that has just come out after his death for young people, where he articulates the church's position on marriage, that it's a priority of sacred importance. And it's only between a man and a woman. So some people think letting this come out after he died is his pitch for sainthood.
Could be. I always thought when he was first chosen, elected, and was touted as this more liberal force, I thought, man, that guy is not going to survive 6 months. They're going to off him immediately. So,
like they did John Paul I.
Exactly. So I was a little amazed that he survived as long as he did.
And he also said he didn't expect to, I'm not going to do this forever. I'll retire in a few years.
No, you didn't do it forever.
He didn't. No one does it forever. We all need to remember that. Now, among the reported frontrunners is the Filipino cardinal, Luis Antonio Tagle, Tagle, a close ally of Francis, would be the first Filipino pope, and seen as very affable, smiley, relatable. Now, he did tell a group of Catholic youth the harsh words that were used in the past to refer to gays and divorced and separate people, the unwed mothers separately in the past, were quite severe. And I don't want you to do that. But, he doesn't support same-sex marriage. He doesn't support contraception. He doesn't support sex education in the schools. So you're never going to get a true progressive in this position as long as it's all men in a secret room deciding it.
He takes public transportation.
That's nice. These are all nice things.
There's also evidently a Polish cardinal who's one of the front runners who helped trans sex workers during COVID.
Well, again, they show compassion for individual people.
Yep.
And part of it is like, we love you. We want you inside with us, but they want you inside so that we can still have an influence so that you don't go to hell and keep following this bad path.
And they really are not doing anything about sexual abuse of kids in the church.
Well, they've done some things, but obviously not enough. And partly because it is such a secret society. All right.
Also in news from Poland, the last Polish county has repealed its LGBTQ free zone.
Yeah?
Yeah, they've wiped it out in the country now because the European Union was threatening such heavy fines.
And they were probably losing on tourism, like we are here in the United States, because no one wants to come here anymore.
Well, with good reason.
All right. And Czech speed skating champion Martina Sablikova has come out publicly. She's in a same-sex relationship with her national teammate, Nikola something, and is one of the most decorated athletes in Czech history. 7 Olympic medals, including 3 golds and more than 20 championship titles. They've lived together for 12 years now. They're coming out publicly.
Yeah, evidently she said someone was threatening to out her, so she came out. If you've been living with your partner for 12 years, you probably weren't too in.
All right. In AIDS news, Gilead Sciences has agreed to pay $202 million to settle a whistleblower lawsuit, accusing them of civil fraud for paying kickbacks to doctors who agreed to prescribe its HIV drugs. $202 million, which is about a half a day's profit.
And doing this resulted in defrauding Medicare, Medicaid, other health organizations. Gilead is really something.
Entertainment news?
Now I got one more. In Washington, the state has become the first to mandate that health plans provide 12-month supplies of hormone replacement drugs to trans people, with menopause, cancer, etc. to protect against fluctuating prices of drugs. You can get a 12-month supply, and that'll make you more secure.
Is that included in the New York City protection bill?
This says Washington State is the first to do it. So
let's make it happen all across the country.
Great idea.
All right.
All right. Entertainment news.
Erin De Niro, the daughter of Robert De Niro and Tukey Smith, has come out as trans in Them magazine. She detailed growing up out of the limelight and finding success on her own merit. She wants to be an inspiration for at least one other person like me who is Black, who is queer, and who is not a size extra small.
As I lay in my sick bed these last weeks, I have been catching up with the new seasons of Hacks and The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh,
yeah, that's back too.
Pretty depressing. Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, well, but it's so revelatory that you find it inspiring that someone is putting that on TV. Hacks was a little depressing in the first 2 episodes because Jean Smart and Hannah Einbinder were really at odds, and that was just sad. But now they're getting more in the swing of things, so I love Hacks. And I'm looking forward to Gerard Carmichael's new special coming to HBO on May 24th.
He's an out gay comedian.
Well, the title is Don't Be Gay, because that's what his parents were saying to him. And the last special was a lot about them really troubled about his coming out.
Especially his mom.
Yes. This one evidently is more about their reconciliation and is more uplifting and about the comfort and joy he has found by being out, which is exactly the trajectory we predict to people and tell people you may be scared to come out, but we promise you you'll be happier, more successful, and I don't know, healthier.
Well,
he says about this new one, which was taped in one night at a club in New York, I have a lot to talk about.
We always knew that Harvey Fierstein was one of the greats. Now he's going to be honored with the 2025 Special Tony Award for Lifetime Achievement in the Theater. I just want to say it's not his first Tony. He first won back in 1983, won 2 for Torch Song Trilogy, and then for La Cage aux Folles, and he was Best Actor in a Musical for Hairspray. So, and Harvey, it's not going to be your last.
Good. And I know I'm behind the times on some things, but I had not realized he'd gone through this whole big weight loss thing.
Yes.
120 pounds.
Yep.
So he looks
quite different.
Very.
Yes.
But congratulations. Okay.
Tell us about Kristen Stewart.
Well, Kristen Stewart and Dylan Mayer got married, and they had been sort of talking about it for a while, and they finally just did it in a small ceremony. They look lovely together, and congratulations to them.
At Casito del Campo, no frills, very intimate, kind of small.
But very lovely.
Yes. There's an exhibit in Chicago at the Wrightwood 659 Museum. It's called The First Homosexuals, The Birth of a New Identity, 1869 to 1939, because 1869 is when they invented the word homosexual. And by the way, that came before heterosexual.
Yes.
The word heterosexual was invented by homosexual or people sympathetic to homosexual.
But
people.
when we see the date 1869, what does it make us think of?
1869, the Civil War is over. What else?
100 years later with Stonewall.
Oh, there you go.
1869, 1969.
Very good. Very good. Very good. And that's going to start May 2nd and run through July 26th. There's a great picture by Alice Austin from 1891 on the thing. Check it out.
And it was curated by Jonathan D. Katz, who has been here, who did the whole great homosexuality exhibit at the Smithsonian and may have traveled to other places. Yes. Very controversial.
I don't think we'll be seeing that at the Smithsonian again anytime soon.
Well, that was a very controversial exhibit. As you remember, we had Jonathan here talking about it. They went after that because the Vonorovich stuff with the ants crawling across the cross.
Yes. And they have permanent stuff at the Smithsonian that's LGBTQ. But again, how long will it last?
Yeah. Johnny Willis also was a curator of this new exhibit, The First Homosexuals, at Wrightwood 659 in Chicago through July 26th.
So we've mentioned The Residence, which is on,
Yeah.
Where's it on?
Netflix,
which features a gay president, and it's a murder mystery thing. But you have something to tell us about.
You mentioned it and the gay president, but then Chris Cooper wrote a sort of amusing, angry letter to you saying, how dare you leave out the fact that the lead character is a Black woman who's a birder. Uzo Aduba, who I love in all sorts of things.
She's really the star of the thing because she's the investigator.
And she is the birder.
Because we don't have much time on this show. And that's why I just mentioned the gay president.
Okay. Kylie Minogue is in it too. It's pretty amusing. It took me a while to get into, but it's okay.
The Rainbow Book Fair is also on May 10th when we come back from the parade in Brighton Beach. It's called Queer Resistance at the Community Center, and it's from noon to 6 p.m. And that will also be in our email. The Rainbow Book Fair, 100 exhibitors.
I know you have 3 reviews to do, but I must mention the horror of Terrence Howard, formerly of Empire, saying that he rejected appearing as Marvin Gaye in a biopic because if I kiss some man, I would cut my lips off.
Sad.
Terrible.
Very sad.
Yeah.
I'll be quick. I saw Cabaret at the Kit Kat Club. Finally, they invited me because at the August Wilson Theater, this was the production where Eddie Redmayne had starred, and but now it's with out country singer Orville Peck as the MC and Eva Noblezada as Sally Bowles. They bring new dimensions to the characters, but it's a darker version of the Kander and Ebb musical. They're gay. It's the rise, which is about the rise of Hitler in Germany. So it's really for our time. And it really focuses a lot on the Jewish Herr Schultz and the Fraulein Schneider relationship, because it's all about genocide. I saw Stranger Things, The First Shadow at the Marquee Theater. It's a stage version prequel of the Emmy Award-winning TV series, which I had not seen. It's set in 1959 America, another London import. It's for the fans of the show. And I'll put my reviews online and then I saw Floyd Collins, which is a 1994 musical by Adam Guttell, now at the Vivian Beaumont Theater at the Lincoln Center, starring Jeremy Jordan. And it's a story about a cave explorer who gets stuck in the ground in 1925. But the real heart of it is a reporter played by Taylor Trench. He plays the first reporter on the scene, and he gives a lot of heart to the show.
More on Terrence Howard, since you've left me a few seconds. When he was shown the script for the Marvin Gaye thing, he took it to Quincy Jones and said, "Was Marvin Gaye gay?" And Quincy Jones said, "Sure." He slept with Marlon Brando, who slept with everyone. And Terrence Howard said, "Well, I'm not doing it because, I'd cut my lips off. I don't do that stuff because the man card means everything."
It's really pathetic.
So that is Terrence Howard's definition of a man.
Well, my definition of happiness is having Ann Northrop back on this show.
Well, I wasn't sure how much energy I'd have to do it, but it's worked out. So that's very, very good. And I'm happy to be back. And thank you to our director, Rich, for these lovely flowers.
Lovely.
They're gorgeous. And we'll see you next week. Bye.